On a freezing December night in 1776, the fate of the American Revolution teetered on the edge of collapse. General George Washington had been battered by months of defeat, but he knew that his army's survival depended on a single dangerous plan. With the British forces closing in and his soldiers demoralized, Washington ordered a dramatic nighttime crossing of the icy Delaware River, a move few could have anticipated at the time. But why would Washington risk everything in such treacherous conditions, with an exhausted, outnumbered army? You're watching this channel, and today, we're answering the extraordinary question: why did George Washington cross the Delaware River? The failing American Revolutionary War in 1776. The American Revolutionary War seemed all but lost. The Continental Army, under General George Washington, had suffered a string of defeats. On August 27th, British forces overwhelmed Washington at the Battle of Long Island, where over 20,000 British and Hessian troops outflanked the Continental Army, which numbered around 10,000. Washington's forces suffered more than 1,000 casualties, while the British lost fewer than 400. The defeat forced Washington to retreat through New York, abandoning Manhattan by mid-September, and eventually into New Jersey. The loss of New York City, the largest city in the colonies, delivered a devastating blow to both military strength and public morale. By November, the situation worsened further. On November 16th, the British captured Fort Washington, taking 2,800 American soldiers prisoner. Just days later, on November 20th, Fort Lee fell, and the Continental Army was once again in retreat. This retreat continued across New Jersey, with Washington's army shrinking as enlistments expired and desertions increased. Hunger, bitter cold, and exhaustion compounded their despair, and the future of the revolutionary cause appeared increasingly bleak. With British forces occupying key positions in New Jersey, Washington found himself pushed to the western banks of the Delaware River. On December 1st, his army crossed into Pennsylvania, just barely escaping the British pursuit. At this moment, faith in the revolutionary cause began to crumble, and the fragile hopes for independence flickered. The dire strategic situation in December 1776. By December 1776, Washington's army faced a grim situation. After a series of defeats in New York, his forces had been pushed across New Jersey by British General William Howe's superior numbers. The Continental Army, which had once numbered around 19,000 men, was now reduced to fewer than 5,000. The soldiers were exhausted, poorly equipped, and morale was dangerously low. Many feared that the revolution was nearing its end. With enlistments about to expire at the end of the year, Washington knew his army could dissolve entirely. Meanwhile, the British forces were confident in their control. General Howe had secured several key victories and believed that Washington's army posed little remaining threat. The British had stationed Hessian forces in towns across New Jersey to hold strategic points. Colonel Johann Roell commanded roughly 1,500 soldiers in Trenton, a small force but thought sufficient to guard the town. British commanders assumed that the harsh winter and Washington's battered army would prevent any offensive action. Planning the surprise attack across the Delaware River in Pennsylvania, Washington saw a rare opportunity. Washington knew that if his army stayed idle, defeat would soon follow. While his army was outnumbered, he knew that a bold, surprise attack could change the course of the war. The British were overconfident, and their forces were spread thin. Washington's strategy relied on striking quickly and decisively, aiming to catch the Hessians off guard. With time running out before his army dissolved, the planned crossing of the Delaware was his only hope to turn the tide. So in early December, he began planning a surprise attack. Washington chose Christmas night for the crossing, knowing the enemy would likely be unprepared for such an audacious move. At McConkey's Ferry on the Delaware River, Washington divided his troops into 3 groups. His main force would cross at the ferry, while 2 smaller groups would flank to the north and south, with instructions to cut off any potential reinforcements. A dangerous and icy journey on the night of December 25, 1776. Temperatures had plummeted, and a biting wind swept across the Delaware River. Ice chunks floated along the river's surface, which threatened to derail the entire operation. Washington had gathered about 2,400 soldiers, along with horses and artillery, all of which needed to make it across the river under cover of darkness. The river was swollen from recent rain and snow, and the current was strong. The icy water made every task difficult. Rowboats had to navigate through the treacherous ice floes, and the soldiers, many of whom lacked proper winter clothing, struggled to keep warm. The horses and artillery posed an even greater problem. Moving the cannons across the unstable boats required extreme precision, and any misstep could have sent valuable equipment into the freezing water. As the hours dragged on, the delay became critical. By 4 a.m., many troops still had not made it across the river. In Pennsylvania, Washington kept a close watch, knowing that daylight would soon reveal their positions. They had originally planned to cross much earlier. In total, the crossing took nearly 9 hours to complete, and when the last of the troops arrived on the New Jersey side, the most dangerous part of the journey was over. The Battle of Trenton at dawn on December 26, 1776, Washington's army, having successfully crossed the Delaware River, advanced on Trenton. The Hessian forces, led by Colonel Johann Rowohl, were unprepared for the attack. They had celebrated Christmas the night before and were unaware of the approaching Continental Army. Washington's men quickly surrounded the town, striking from two sides in a coordinated assault. The Hessians, caught completely off guard, scrambled to defend themselves, but their efforts were disorganized. Colonel Rowohl attempted to rally his men, but was fatally wounded during the fighting. Within an hour, they surrendered. Washington's forces captured nearly 900 Hessian soldiers, along with vital supplies and ammunition. The victory at Trenton revitalized the struggling American cause when it was most needed. For the first time in months, the troops saw a tangible result from their sacrifices. This renewed optimism spread quickly throughout the army. In the days following the battle, word of the victory reached the public. Many who had grown skeptical of the Continental Army's ability to challenge British forces began to see Washington as a capable leader. Across the colonies, the victory inspired new recruits to join the fight. Washington's decision to capitalize on this momentum led to enlistments increasing, and many soldiers whose terms were set to expire chose to stay and continue fighting. The Continental Army was now in a better position to face the challenges ahead. Moreover, this triumph proved critical in securing material and political support for the revolution. Washington's leadership became a source of confidence for both his soldiers and the American public. This shift in public opinion also encouraged the Continental Congress to back Washington more fully. The victory at Trenton reignited faith in the possibility of independence. So on January 3, 1777, Washington's forces won another critical victory at the Battle of Princeton, once more weakening British control in New Jersey. The British found themselves struggling to respond and, as a result, British General William Howe abandoned several posts in New Jersey, opting for a more defensive approach in the coming months. This strategic initiative had shifted in favor of the Americans, as the victories gave them time to regroup, reorganize, and prepare for future campaigns. We hope you enjoyed learning more about one of the most pivotal moments in American history. If you want to learn more about George Washington or other figures from the American Revolution, check out the links in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an exciting episode. Thanks for watching.